So you want to get lean. That's great. It's actually pretty simple. All you need is just two things: an open mind and a chair to sit in. We need to talk. What's up, guys? Jeff Cavalier, ATHLEAN-X.com. So here I am in my chair, and hopefully you are in yours, because today we're going to talk about how to get lean. You see, there is a way to get lean that works every single time, and I promise if you follow what I'm telling you here, it's going to work every single time. And I would think that here at ATHLEAN-X, I would be able to help you, and I promise you I can. You see, guys, I'm going to give you the no bullshit advice on how to get leaner the right way, and it all starts with the four most important words, and those are...
No more gummy bears?
Not those words, Jesse. The four most important words I'm talking about are calories in and calories out. You see, something we talked about here forever on this channel is that if you want to get lean, you're going to have to create an energy deficit, right? And we do that through the manipulation of calories, either taking in fewer calories through our diet or burning off more calories through the types of activities that we do. For this video, let's start with the calories out equation. And so when we're talking about calories out, we're really talking about exercise, or as I prefer to call it, training, which is exercise with a purpose. And when we're talking about exercise, guys, how you break down your overall availability of time matters. So let's say you have 3 hours a week to do something. What I would always suggest is that you spend at least 60% of that time strength training and only 40% of that time doing cardio or conditioning. Now the situation changes entirely if your goal is different. We're talking about body fat in this video. If you're looking to improve the strength of your heart, or if you have a cardiovascular medical condition that would require that you work more on your heart, then this whole equation gets thrown out the window. But when you're looking for overall leanness and body fat loss, I like to have this 3-to-2 ratio. For every 2 workouts that I do that are conditioning based, I want 3 strength training workouts. Why? It's because the overall effect that you get from a conditioning aspect in terms of creating that deficit isn't really that much. As a matter of fact, I did a whole video on this before where Jesse, poor Jesse, was doing burpees for a minute straight and he burned about 13 calories. Only to be gained right back by the 3 gummy bears he ate to celebrate. You see, guys, it's pretty damn difficult, if not impossible, to out-train a bad diet. No matter how many calories you burn doing whatever it is you do, you're going to quickly see here that the nutrition side, the calories in, is going to matter the most. The fact is, when getting lean is your goal, conditioning cannot be your main weapon of attack for getting there. Which is why when it comes to physical exertion, I'd rather see you focus on those strength training workouts like I talked about before. And not because of the benefits you get in terms of caloric burn within those workouts, because it really isn't that significant, but it's the benefits you get in terms of building new muscle tissue and the metabolic increase that you'll see in your ability to burn more calories at rest. That's the real benefit. Now, what are we talking about in terms of splits? Well, you're really going to want to focus on those multi-function, multi-muscle group splits like total body or let's say push-pull legs. And if you're really pressed for time and you don't really have even time to do conditioning like we talked about before, you can combine them in the form of a circuit-style approach or maybe even a complex. And with the complex, you're just taking repetitions that seem to flow together smoothly and performing them in sequence, or you could take those circuits by just condensing the rest time in between sets, performing them in one smooth fashion. Truth be told though, guys, this would not be the best way to achieve either of those goals, right? If you want to get maximum hypertrophy, I'd rather see you perform a more traditional version of a push-pull leg split, not in this circuit style. Or if you wanted to get the conditioning benefits, I'd recommend something other than this because this is more of a jack of all trades. But you know what, guys? Sometimes when the great thing isn't available, the good thing is better than nothing. And that's what brings us to the most important part of this video, and that is calories in, your nutrition. Because no matter what you do in the gym, it's going to be far outweighed by what you do outside the gym, what you put in your body. You see, when we talk about the commitment level, though, this is where things change dramatically and why it becomes so difficult. Because we can all maybe get ourselves to the gym for an hour, a few times a week, but what are you doing in the other 23 hours of the day? See, that becomes a lot more difficult. But that is going to be the main determining factor for how lean you are, so we've got to get it straight. And so while the calories in, calories out equation allows you to eat foods regardless of their nutritional value as long as they have the same caloric value and fit within your calories out, calories in equation, I'm going to urge you to do something different here. I'm going to ask you to focus on the quality because the quality matters. You see, when it comes to nutrition, guys, what you put in your body matters. You are what you eat. And what I ask you to do is look beyond the caloric value alone to gauge the value of that food. There's a satiation factor built into foods as well, and it's something we have to consider. Think about the last time you had Doritos. Did you have one or did you have one bag? Well, think about the last time you had, let's say, an egg. Did you have one or did you have 30? You see, it's hard to overeat certain foods because they have the ability to make you feel fuller faster. And even though we might make the right decision from time to time in terms of the foods we put in our body, do you have the ability to say when it's time to stop eating whatever it is you're eating? Because if you don't, your lack of portion control will easily eclipse your calorie deficit, leaving you in no deficit at all with the body fat levels that you have right now. And these foods that have the built-in satiety factor here will make that job of yours a lot easier. Oftentimes, it's foods that are higher in fiber content because they're going to give you that feeling of fullness. Not to mention there are other benefits in terms of blood sugar stabilization and digestive health, which is just another reason to be looking for these foods and putting them into your nutrition plan. But the big thing that I want you to consider is also the big picture. Think about what your goal is. Is it to be lean, but just for a short period of time? Do you truthfully just want to show up at the beach and look good for 4 days in Mexico? Because if that's the case, you probably could eat whatever the hell you want as long as you're in a deficit. Because you're going to get there, but you're not going to stay there. What I want you to do instead is focus on increasing the quality of what you eat. Think in the bigger picture, your long-term health. Because when you increase the quality of the food that you put in your body, you're going to feel much better, not just look better, and that's where the real key lies. So when it comes to the foods you're actually putting on your plate, the place I want you to focus first and foremost is on your proteins. Because when you're trying to create a caloric deficit, pulling from your proteins is not going to be the wisest option because we need them to support our hard efforts in the gym. If you want to maximize that calorie out portion of the equation, you're going to have to support your hard training efforts with protein. And to do that, we're looking at 0.7 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So where else would you pull from? Well, you have two options, carbohydrates or fats. And for those that already have higher fat diets, it's an easy choice. And not just that, it's a good economical choice. Because we know that fats have twice as many calories on a gram per gram basis as carbohydrates and proteins, which makes them a wise choice in terms of creating a deficit more quickly. That being said, carbohydrates are also an option, but you want to be careful there because going too low can introduce another problem, which we need to talk about. Now look, I don't have this big love affair with carbohydrates, but I do love me some sweet potatoes. But the fact is, I know one thing about them. They're the most gratifying of all macronutrients, right? The most satisfying to eat. They literally put the comfort in comfort food and make us feel good about what we're eating. And looking to cut them down dramatically or to cut them out completely is a giant mistake. But what happens is people's motivation sometimes leads to the wrong choices. And they're so motivated to make a change that they want to go as far away from the current path that they're on, thinking that the big changes are going to lead to big results and faster results. And that's not what happens, guys, because what happens ultimately is that you take such a departure from the lifestyle path that you're on that you can't continue to keep that consistent path going over here, and you ultimately wind up coming right back to where you started. When the reality of the restriction overcomes the enthusiasm for change, you're just left in the same spot you were before. So what you need to do is find a way to still eat your carbohydrates, to maintain your sanity, and give your muscles a chance. Again, if you want to get the most out of the workouts you're doing, make sure you're feeding the muscles the way you should. Your carbohydrates need to stay in some capacity in what you're eating. And last but not least, let's talk a little bit about those carbohydrates. You see, because they're not all created equal. And if there's one big change you can make, it's to decrease your consumption of the kind that I don't like, and that is sweets and alcohol. Now look, I get it. Everybody likes to indulge in those, so a complete exclusion of these foods is not a requirement either in order to get to the results that you want. You can certainly obtain low levels of body fat and a high degree of leanness without completely excluding these. And that's important because you still have to have your mental sanity. But what you do need to do is have a respect for these because they're the ones that cause the problems. Look, even my once-a-year carrot cake can easily go from one slice to a whole damn cake if I didn't have the willpower that I have. Because once that sugar hits your tongue, it's hard to say no, and you want more and more and more. And the same thing comes when we talk about alcohol, because liquid calories are always going to be easier to consume because they don't provide that satiating effect that we talked about earlier. And not to mention, as the inhibitions go down from maybe drinking too much, those food intakes and the bad choices go up as well. But again, complete restriction is not needed here. All we have to do is have a healthy respect for them. So what I ask you to do is kind of use my baseball analogy, the batting average. The great Ty Cobb was a .366 hitter, and he's in the Hall of Fame. But what that means is every 6.5 times up to the plate, he made an out. Well, guess what? You don't have to be perfect either. If you can bat 800, you'll be doing really, really, really damn good. So what that means is 8 out of every 10 meals you have, make sure they're good ones. So if you break it across an entire week, it becomes even that much more achievable. Because you realize that let's say you eat 4 or 5 times a day, times 7 days a week, that's 35 meals in a week. 80% of that is 28. If you could do well 28 times, and maybe not so well 7 times, not only is that well within your reach to be able to do that, but you're going to be seeing yourself take a giant step in the direction of the leanness you desire. And what happens is you gain the extra motivation to continue those changes if you desire to go even lower than that. And that right there is how getting lean actually almost becomes automatic. Guys, remember, too big of a departure from the path is only going to set you up for failure. And for this video, failure is not an option. And so with that, you now have a step-by-step game plan for getting lean with no BS involved, guys. If you just follow the path I told you here, I promise you, you will get results because it works every single time. Not to mention, think about the calories you burn just taking that one lap around the gym with me. Guys, if you're looking for a plan where we put together step-by-step meal plans and workouts to make sure you don't fail, head over to ATHLEAN-X.com. In the meantime, if you found the video helpful, make sure you leave your comments and thumbs up. Let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that for you. And also, if you haven't done so, click subscribe and turn your notifications so you never miss a new video when we put one out. All right, guys, see you soon.